and welcome. Tonight, fight against terrorism records significant gains as over 800 Boko Haram suspects await transfer to Kayinji, Niger State, to face prosecution. President Muhammadu Buhari asked border control agencies of Lake Chad Basin Commission to stop circulation of illegal weapons in the region. United Nations Women lead campaign for more inclusion of Nigerian women in politics, as well as urgent need to end gender-based violence.
On business news tonight, Central Bank of Nigeria says a total of $4.98 billion has been repatriated into the country by non-oil exporters over a period of 9 months.
On sports news tonight, Kalidou Koulibaly sends Senegal into the World Cup knockout stage for just the second time in their history with a dramatic 2-1 win over Ecuador.
And from Abuja, court sentences Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba to 3 months in prison for contempt of court. Court headquarters, however, says it is not aware of the ruling directing the IGP to reinstate a dismissed officer.
And in international news from London, people in China who attended weekend protests against COVID restrictions say they have been contacted by police as authorities in China begin clamping down.
We'll begin with security, where 886 Boko Haram detainees are set to be awaiting transfer to Giwa Project in Kayinji, Niger State, for prosecution. The Giwa Center holds a total of 1,893 suspects in custody. This was disclosed today during a briefing by Colonel Obinna Zubike in Borno State, who represented the Theatre Commander Northeast Joint Operation Hadinkai, Major General Christopher Musa. He explains that 323 detainees were transferred to Operation Safe Corridor in Gombe State September the 8th for de-radicalization, demobilization and rehabilitation, DDR, a program of the federal government. Colonel Zubike, who is the acting theatre intelligence coordinator, said over 82,000 terrorists and their families had surrendered since July 2021. Meanwhile, President Buhari is asking border control agencies and security services within member states of the Lake Chad Basin Commission to stop the circulation of all illegal weapons in the region. Speaking at the 16th Ordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government of the Commission today, the President states that illegal movement of arms into the region has heightened the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. Our State House correspondent, Gloria Mizoke, has more.
The 16th Ordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government of the Lake Chad Basin Commission, hosted by its chairman, President Muhammadu Buhari, has 6 countries that make up the organization in attendance.
Your Excellency, President.
Rekindling talks about confronting terrorism within the Lake Chad Basin, the President tells member countries to halt the spread of illicit weapons.
Weapons being used for the war in Ukraine and Russia are equally beginning to filter to the region. This illegal movement of arms into the region has heightened the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, which continues to threaten our collective peace and security in the region. There is therefore the urgent need for expedited collaborative actions by our brother control agencies and other security services to stop the circulation of all illegal weapons in the region.
Illuminating budgetary concerns, which according to him remains a challenge for all member countries, President Buhari asserts the need to review the development projects operational in the region.
It is worthy of note that military actions alone cannot effectively win the war against terrorism. There is the overriding need to complement military operations with the provisions of sustainable development projects that will ameliorate the living conditions of the affected people in the region.
The Commission also elected to present a report of the 68th Ordinary Session of the Council of Ministers, where financial commitments are underlined.
The last remittance
of the sum of $10,500,000 on 6 April 2021 brought the total direct disbursement of Nigeria to the MNJTF to $209,075,748 from 2015 to 2021.
Now, challenges of terrorism, political instability and recharge of the Lake Chad Basin have continued to reverberate at forums like this. Now, at this particular summit, the president, like other times, having to highlight the threats this poses to the region, is asking members and member states to come together, reinforce action in order to proffer sustainable peace in the region. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Staying with security, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, has stressed the need for the Nigerian government and other West African countries to make more investments in human capital development as a way of addressing the root causes of insecurity and conflicts bedeviling the region. She explains that the security challenges in the country are mostly trans-border in nature and therefore requires all hands to address the problems. The UN scribe was speaking during a courtesy visit to the Martin Luther Agwai International Leadership and Peacekeeping Center in Kaduna State.
The Nigerian government itself has a policy in place. It does the best it can with the resources that it has. It is very clear today that the banditry and the insecurity in the nation is not just a national one, it is also the one in the context of the region. We all know that now our conflicts are crossing borders. The Sahel has very huge issues to deal with. So it requires everyone to come together. This is one of the initiatives that we hope to support, because behind every conflict, behind every insurgency, there are root causes. Root causes are a lack of investment in development, and that too is a complex issue. So we hope that in time that we can address those root causes, that more young people are able to have a job, they see a future in their country, they are included, democracies are strengthened, and I think that, peace building is one of those very key building blocks to getting back to where we would like to be.
Into politics, where the United Nations Women in Politics and members of the civil society organizations are leading a campaign for more women inclusion in Nigerian politics, as well as the urgent need to end gender-based violence. Speaking at a conference in Abuja to promote women's participation in politics, leaders of the group say there is an urgent need to recruit more men into the movement to push for gender parity in Nigeria's politics.
This conference, by representatives of the United Nations Women in Politics and members of the civil society organizations, is part of the activities to mark the United Nations 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. The conversations here are about how to recruit more men into the global campaign against gender-based violence, which they identify as a major barrier that prevents women from participating in politics.
When you talk about violence against women, it's a huge problem, and it's discouraging a lot of women from joining politics. So we need men that will commit to making the society free from violence as much as they support us in politics.
This meeting today is not one-off meeting. We are going to be having this meeting in the 6 geopolitical zones, where all leaders of political parties, main champions, are invited and ready to support women's political participation in Nigeria.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, only about 6.7% of women in Nigeria occupy elective and appointive positions. The group says there is an urgent need to enlist the support of the male folk to help push for policy changes that will protect the rights of women.
Between 1999 and today, the average number of women as legislators is 7%. This is totally unacceptable. We should report what we hear to authorities and demand for policy changes that will support them.
We must be determined
to establish a system that will protect the rights of women in our communities, in our villages, and in our local areas.
Nigeria's 6.7% female representation in politics is one of the lowest in the world compared to the global average of 22.5% and the West African sub-regional average of 15% female representation. However, many participants at this conference believe strongly that the ongoing advocacy for female inclusivity and the introduction of technologies in Nigeria's electoral system will help change the narrative.
To electoral matters, residents of Ogun State whose permanent voter cards were burned in the fire incident in Abeokuta South local government office of INEC may not have to worry anymore. The national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has promised that the cards will be replaced before the general elections. He gave the assurance during a visit to the paramount ruler of Egba land in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, while on an on-the-spot assessment of the burnt INEC office.
It is the first official visit of the INEC national chairman to Ogun State, and he is accompanied by national commissioners, resident electoral commissioners, and the commission's technical team. His first port of call is the palace of the Alake and paramount ruler of Egba land, where he is received by the monarch. Professor Yakubu states his reason for the one-day working visit and seeks royal blessings and cooperation of traditional rulers and other critical stakeholders. He also promises the replacement of over 65,000 permanent voter cards burned during the arson attack on the Abeokuta South local government office of the Commission.
We are here to seek for your blessings and your special prayers for the success of the Commission and for the success of the 2023 general election. I want to assure you and assure the people of Egba land that whatever we may have lost in the office in Abeokuta South will replace before the election.
Giving his royal blessing, the Alaki and paramount ruler of Egba land expresses confidence in the leadership of the Commission to ensure credible elections.
I believe that you can write your names in gold in the annals of this nation. That those who set fire to the offices here and in other places, let them know that they have failed woefully and that you will succeed. And by the grace of God, you will succeed. Because the whole world is looking up to you.
Next, the INEC boss undertakes an assessment tour of the burnt INEC office and expresses disappointment over the attack, vowing that the Commission will not be cowed by elements who are bent on truncating the general elections.
Well, it's very disappointing, particularly because in the last 4 months, 5 of our offices were attacked nationwide in the last 4 months. But this will never deter us. We'll make sure that we replace burnt or destroyed equipment and reprint the PVCs and conduct elections.
With this visit and interaction with the stakeholders in Ogun State, the INEC chairman appears to underscore the fact that the success or otherwise of the 2023 general elections depends on how Nigerians play their part.
And on a sad note, the women leader of the Labour Party in Kaura local government area of Kaduna State, Mrs. Victoria Chimtex, has been assassinated by gunmen. She was said to have been killed on Monday night by the gunmen who invaded her residence at about 8 p.m. and shot at her severally. The victim's husband was also said to have been shot on the leg and was rushed to hospital for urgent treatment. Although the police authorities are yet to confirm the incident, chairman of the Labour Party in the state, Mr. Peter Hassan, told our correspondent that the victim was a very hard-working, very obedient women leader of the party in Kaura local government area. He also explains that the gunmen rejected the monetary offer made by the husband of the victim for them to spare her life. In part two, after the break, National Association of Nigerian Students demands unconditional release of student who was reportedly arrested over his post on social media criticizing the First Lady, Mrs. Aisha Buhari. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Fight against terrorism records significant gains as over 800 Boko Haram suspects await transfer to Kainji, Niger State, to face prosecution. President Muhammadu Buhari asked border control agencies of the Lake Chad Basin Commission to stop circulation of illegal weapons in the region. United Nations Women lead campaign for more inclusion of Nigerian women in politics, as well as urgent need to end gender-based violence. And people in China who attended protests against COVID restrictions say they have been contacted by police as authorities begin clampdown. Stories now. The leadership of the National Association of Nigerian Students is asking for an unconditional release of a student of the Federal University, Dutse, Jigawa State, Aminu Mohammed. NANS is asking for the release of Mr. Mohammed, who was reportedly arrested by the police, allegedly on the orders of the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari. The student's body says Mohammed's arrest and detention may be connected to his post on social media where he accused Mrs. Buhari of looting money meant for the masses. While the body apologizes for the embarrassments the said post may have caused Mrs. Buhari, it asks that the detained students be released or charged to court. The student leaders have also accused the police of arresting Mr. Mohammed within the school premises without the knowledge of the school authority. We head now to Abuja for more stories. Linda Kigbe is standing by. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. Staying with legal stories. Justice Mobolaji Olajuwon of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has sentenced the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, to 3 months in prison for disobeying a court order. The judge issued the order following a suit filed by a former police officer, Patrick Okoli, who claimed he was unlawfully and compulsorily retired from the Nigeria Police Force. The ruling follows an application filed by DCP Patrick Okoli over a lingering issue bordering on the police authorities' refusal to fully reinstate him after his unlawful retirement from the force. Meanwhile, the Office of the Inspector General of Police has denied being aware of a court order directing the police to reinstate a dismissed officer. A statement by the force PRO Olumi Muyiwa Adejobi says, based on available facts, the case in point concerns an officer who was dismissed as far back as 1992, a few years after Mr. Baba enlisted into the Nigeria Police. It says the most recent judgment of the matter was given in 2011, which should ordinarily not fall under the direct purview of the current administration of the force. The statement further says the IGP has directed the Commissioner of Police in charge of Force Legal Unit to investigate the allegation in a bid to ascertain the position of the court and offer informed legal advice for the IGP's prompt and necessary action. The Force PRO also says the IGP reiterates his commitment to upholding the rule of law in synergy with the judiciary to ensure quick dispensation of justice. Away from legal issues, President Buhari is seeking the legalization and institutionalization of the National Social Investment Program, NSIP, in Nigeria. In a letter to the Senate and read by Senate President Ahmad Lawan during Tuesday's plenary session, President Buhari is requesting the upper chamber to consider and approve the National Social Investment Program Establishment Bill. The president explains that the proposed legislation will provide the enabling law for effective implementation of the program towards poverty alleviation for vulnerable Nigerians.
Transmission of the National Social Investment Program Establishment Bill for consideration. Pursuant to Section 58, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, I forward here with the National Social Investment Program Establishment Bill for the kind consideration of the Senate. The National Social Investment Program Establishment Bill seeks to provide a legal and institutional framework for the establishment of National Social Investment Program for the assistance and empowerment of the poor and vulnerable in Nigeria. While I hope that the request will receive the usual expeditious consideration of the Senate, please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurance of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari.
Away from the National Assembly, the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, says discussions are still on as to who the People's Democratic Party in the state would support for next year's presidential election. Governor Wike, who was speaking during the commissioning of a road in the state, urged the people to only prepare to vote the PDP candidate at the state level.
After about 2 weeks of moving across the length and breadth of Rivers State for project's inauguration, the Governor Nyesom Wike and his team are in Rukboko in Obiakwa local government area for the commissioning of the road linking the community to Igruta and Ikwere local government area.
So the importance of this link road need not be overemphasized.
Reconstructed in 14 months, the project, which forms part of the rural urban renewal agenda of the Wike-led administration, is critical to socio-economic development of the state.
This project commenced about 16 months ago and was completed over a month ago. This project was completed to scope and with the required, with the specified quality.
Governor Nyesom Wike emphasizes the importance of good road and flourishing economy to the state while reading the riot acts to criminals in Rivers State.
That period is over where you think you will do something, you run away. I'm telling you in case you are here, because I'm not sure everybody that is here are all good people. There must be some bad people. So please, this is what I owe you to tell you. If you have succeeded yesterday, it does not mean you will succeed today. If you succeed today, it does not mean you will succeed tomorrow. We have equipment now that even if you are not alien, on the road, we will see you.
To sustain the development agenda of his administration, the governor is asking the people to prepare to vote for candidates of the People's Democratic Party at the state level in next year's election.
You must vote for the party that has come to your aid, a party that has brought dividends of democracy. If the people of Roboku are not happy, would they be here? No. Would they be here? No. All of our governance is happiness of the people. When the people are happy, we are happy. So if I come here to address you, everybody will listen to me. But if I was governor and I have not done anything, can I come here and campaign? No. It will make you to say, oh God, this is the government we believe in. This is the party at the state level. Listen to what I said. Party at the state level you believe in.
This new addition will now make access to parts of Obiakwa and Ikwere local government areas more convenient for the people and their businesses.
And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Linda. And the quest to achieve a total eradication to the production and use of fake drugs in the country has recorded another boost as professionals in the pharmaceutical sector seek ways to fight the menace. At a forum in Lagos, members of the Coalition Against Counterfeit Pharmaceutical Products at an inaugural meeting discussed ways to fight and use the use and distribution of fake drugs.
It's the inaugural meeting of the Coalition Against Counterfeit Pharmaceutical Products, as pharmacists and other medical experts are gathered in this hall for an advocacy call. The move to curb the production, distribution and consumption of counterfeit pharmaceutical products in Nigeria is gradually receiving the necessary attention as more Nigerians become aware of the adverse effect of fake products on human health and the national economy.
We all know that the scourge of counterfeit pharmaceutical products has done a lot of damage to the healthcare system and to people in Nigeria, the population. So we think it's something we should put forward. And luckily, we found a listening ear with Pfizer Specialties, and they said that they will support it, and also Nairo Farm said they support it. And then we created this coalition because we realized that it's a battle that everybody needs to pick up.
As organizations and governments fight the menace of fake pharmaceutical products in Nigeria, the group seeks to understand the issues and understudy viable solutions, working in collaboration with relevant authorities.
The objective here is to get the patient awareness through this coalition so that there could be behavioral changes for patients to make the right procurement of drug at the right premises, and also for other stakeholders in the industry, hospital, pharmacies, to ensure that stocking of drugs are drawn through the right channel.
This coalition is going to be focusing on advocacy. We also have a role to play there in also, do what is necessary or is needed to push the advocacy program forward.
The total eradication of fake products plays a vital role in economic development, as many participants at this event reiterate their resolve to continue the fight.
We are going to be enlightening the public through different avenues and through different platforms. We've been doing it, but in working with this coalition now, we are going to do it more.
The importance of original pharmaceutical products cannot be underscored, especially now that more Nigerians are patronizing local products. Collaborative efforts from professionals in the health sector will no doubt go a long way in building the confidence of Nigerians in the usage of local pharmaceutical products.
Liquid Intelligence Technologies, LIT, a Pan-African company and a business of Cassava Technologies, has formally launched its operations in the Nigerian market. At the ceremony in Lagos, the company's chief executive officer, Mr. Wole Abu, says LIT is a one-stop shop technology company offering unmatched high-speed connectivity, cloud and cybersecurity services, among others, to its clients. The company also states that it's the first to lay over 100,000 kilometers of fiber network across the African continent while reaching into Nigeria.
It's a gathering of top players in Nigeria's digital transformation space. The occasion is the formal entry of Liquid Intelligent Technologies into Nigeria, a company set to take advantage of the need for innovative and scalable digital services in the country.
We are part of a global powerhouse called Cassava Technology. We basically do digital infrastructure, which is about power, renewable energy, network connectivity, data port, data centers, and we also do digital services, things that we layer on top of our infrastructure.
We own and operate Africa's largest open access cross-border fiber network, spanning over 100,000 kilometers. This has been achieved by building extensive backbone network across countries running from South Africa into Zimbabwe, Zambia, Kenya, Tanzania, all the way through to Cairo in Egypt.
With the addition of Nigeria to its growing fiber network across Africa and host of digital solutions, LIT will bring capabilities that will give customers in the private and public sectors access to high-speed connectivity, one that is acknowledged by regulators in the industry.
At the NCC, we have learned that Nigeria will be the liquids hub into the West African region, and we could not be more proud in this regard.
May I commend all the stakeholders within the ICT ecosystem, especially Liquid, for all their efforts and contribution towards the growth of connectivity in Nigeria. This is commendable and is acknowledged.
Liquid Intelligent Technologies says it's providing world-class infrastructure to help Nigerian businesses create jobs and opportunities while playing its part as a critical driver in the country's economic growth.
Judicial Consulting Limited, an enterprise governance firm, has held the third edition of its CIO Awards in Lagos. At the ceremony, the convener of the CIO Awards and CIO Club Africa, Abiola Lashende, said this is a form of reward for transformational leaders in the technological space. A total of 11 awards were given across 3 categories.
Personalities from across the technology ecosystem are gathered for the third edition of the CIO Awards with the theme Honoring Digital Eminence. The CIO Awards seeks to honor outstanding individuals and organizations who are at the forefront of driving digital transformation.
It has become a mandate for the CIO Awards ceremony to continue to acknowledge the outstanding work done by leading digital transformation leaders. This journey of optimism, determination, and recognizing the impact of digital innovation in our current economy led to the creation of the CIO Club Africa.
There are 11 awards to be given across 3 categories, but first an acknowledgement of the contributions of those who are not only shaping the industry, but also adding value to the economy.
We have been losing a lot of our staff to the foreign countries, and we believe that this kind of awards will recognize them and tell them to remain in Nigeria.
CIO Awards especially there to say, you know what, the guys right there doing all the hard work, right on the coalface with their teams, have to be celebrated. It's not often that you get them out there, It's usually, all the other people, the guys in the front office, the guys in the mid office, but the guys in the back office do a big job as well.
Then the awards begin to roll in across banking, consumer goods, media and fintech sectors, among others. The founder of System Specs Nigeria, Mr. John Obaro, takes home the Lifetime Achievement Award, while Juliet Ehimwa Chiazo is the female leader in technology. Victor Onyedineke of AG Leventis is the overall CIO of the year.
Victor Onyedineke.
The CIO Awards was instituted in 2022 by enterprise governance firm Judicial Consulting Limited to encourage IT professionals who are contributing to the Nigerian IT ecosystem despite the mass exodus of talents from Nigeria.
Business News is next. Here's Will Ibong.
Thanks, Millicent. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says a total of $4.98 billion has been repatriated into the country by non-oil exporters in 9 months. And that's higher than $4.19 billion received in the full year of 2021. The CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, made this known today at the second biannual RT200 Non-Oil Exports Summit in Lagos. According to Mr. Emefiele, the bank has paid 81 billion naira in rebates to hard-working Nigerian exporters of finished and semi-finished goods.
This $81 billion naira we have paid so far is a testament to the resolve of the CBN to ensure quick acceleration of the export value chain in the country. I know that there have been calls to make all exporters eligible or export products eligible for this rebate, and not just limiting it to finished and semi-finished products. While we see some justification for this call, one of the goals of the RT200 program is to help quicken the process of industrialization and encourage exporters earn more from their export businesses. We must help our exporters and our economy by adding value to what we produce and export. The CBN is committed to strengthening and expanding foreign exchange supply into the market.
Now, the global investment bank Goldman Sachs says the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, is very likely to cut oil production in a bid to stem a price decline and balance the market. This forecast comes amid fears of a recession and weakening crude demand in China. The bank further notes that its medium-term oil outlook for 2023 was very positive as it sees prices rise to $110 per barrel. In October, OPEC Plus had agreed to reduce crude production by 2 million barrels per day from November. Meanwhile, OPEC Plus is set to convene in Vienna, Austria on December the 4th to decide on the next phase of production policy. Now, bearish sentiments continued in the equities market as investors sold off Nigerian breweries and some banking stocks. Let's get the details from Ladi Williams.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the bears dominate again today. And it's not far from what we lost yesterday, 0.24%. 47,000 levels still held for the all-share index. Market cap 25.77 trillion. Let's look at the activity chart. There's just value in the green. We're having more value than we had yesterday, but we'll see volume down. 120 million units of stocks traded, valued at 1.64 billion naira. We see deals also in the red, 3,022. Let's look at the top five gainers there. Top three, Chams, 24 kobo, up 9.09%. That leaves the pack of gainers today. While we'll flip over to the losers counter there, and we're seeing Nemeth topping that counter, 1 naira 27 kobo to close down 7.97%. So it's still profit-taking on the front burner today. And it looks like last week was much of a bear market rally. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Ladi Williams. It's back to you.
And that's it on Business News. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Will. More company news. A new set of winners have emerged in the ongoing Globacom Festival of Joy promo in the Lagos area. The promotional gift items, which includes generators, rechargeable fans, a brand new car as star prize, were handed to the next set of lucky winners. The Globacom Regional Manager, Lawrence Odediran, explains that the idea behind the gesture is to reward Glo subscribers for their loyalty and patronage.
It's the turn of Glo subscribers in the Lagos area to get rewarded for their loyalty and patronage. On display at the Glo World Adiola Odeku office in Victoria Island, Lagos, are generating sets, rechargeable fans, sewing machines, and the star prize, a brand new Kia Carros car. Also present at the event are regulators, Glo brand ambassadors, and other dignitaries. Globacom's regional manager for the Lagos area, Mr. Lawrence Odediran, reiterates that showing appreciation to subscribers is a key factor in the company's operations.
This is Festival of Joy promo. It's just a way of giving back to society. You all know that we are moving towards the end of the year where you have Christmas, you have New Year. So this is just to delight our customers, to also say thank you for what they have been doing over the period of 1 year. And this is not just the last. We have done in Ibadan, we have done in Port Harcourt, we've done in Abuja. We are still going to move to so many other places. So Lagos is just one of the events that you're going to be seeing, where we're going to be rewarding our subscribers with houses, with cars, with sewing machines, with generators. So brace up and be ready for more Festival of Joy promo from Globacom.
Then it's time to reward the winners. Ajah-based Vivian Chukwueke is the star prize winner of a brand new Kia Carros car.
I'm so excited I'm a winner of this brand new car. So my fellow Nigerians, go and get a Glo line. You recharge your line with this code star 611 hash. Then you're good to go to be a winner also.
We must commend Globacom again for the jobs that they have created so far. And I, as one, I'm very proud of them. An indigenous network provider that is doing this major.
With the growing popularity and acceptance of Globacom's Festival of Joy promotion across the country, the company says more subscribers can still partake in the promo, which runs till January 2023.
Into the situation of the fuel queues around Lagos, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited is blaming the queues in Lagos on road construction around Apapa and access road challenges in some parts of Lagos depots. The Executive Vice President downstream, Mr. Adeyemi Adetunji, gave this explanation while addressing a news conference in Abuja. He also explains that Abuja is impacted by the challenges recorded in Lagos. However, he assures Nigerians that efforts are ongoing to ensure that normalcy returns as soon as possible.
We currently have a national PMS stock of over 2 billion litres. This is equivalent to over 30 days sufficiency. The recent queues in Lagos are largely due to ongoing road infrastructure projects around Apapa and access road challenges in some parts of Lagos depots. The gridlock is easing out, and NNPC has programmed vessels and trucks to unconstrained depots, and massive loadouts from depots to various states are closely being monitored.
We head outside our shores now, where 6 objects stolen by British soldiers in 1897 have been returned. 2 Benin bronzes are among 6 objects being returned to Nigeria by the Horniman Museum in London. The items were stolen 125 years ago by British soldiers in Benin City. Professor Abba Tijani, Director General of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, said he believes the right thing has been done, adding that he is hopeful more precious objects will be returned by other institutions. Our London correspondent, Juliana Lainka, has more.
Splendid, spiritual, spectacular, and finally back in the hands of those who own them. More than 125 years after they were stolen by British soldiers from the Kingdom of Benin, the Horniman Museum in southeast London have accepted that now is the time to return Nigeria's precious objects. And with it, the British establishment has returned a small but incredibly symbolic part of Nigeria's rich history and majestic culture.
To witness a major collection being returned back is quite significant, and we're hoping it will indicate the trends to come. We have our largest collections of Benin bronze works outside of Benin or outside of Nigeria in the London Museum, and those pieces are ours and should be returned.
My name's Nick Merriman. I'm Chief Executive of the Horniman Museum and Gardens.
Last night's historic ceremony may have seen just 6 of the 72 items held here at the Horniman being delivered back to Nigeria. However, there are plans for more returns.
We have the duty to appreciate significantly those institutions that have responded to that worldwide calling. We are at Cambridge, and we are here, and I'm sure we'll still go back to Cambridge and some other institutions. So it's a process, and it's a way of saying thank you for responding in the proper way, and to also encourage and give a signal to those who are still holding on tight to this artifact that they should go to where they belong.
According to Professor Abba Tijani, the Director General of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments in Nigeria, there are over 5,000 Benin bronzes scattered around the world in museums. The pressure is now on to see that they are given back to their rightful owner.
So whether you're in Seattle or Stockholm, or in fact most major Western cities in between, there may well be Benin bronzes in your local museum. And also, they are amongst Africa's greatest cultural treasures, and the way in which they were taken is, I think in today's terms, it would be seen as particularly egregious and very well documented from the British side, indeed very well photographed. And I think that's why it's captured people's imagination.
The remaining 66 artefacts will remain in the UK on loan for now, but they will be returned to Nigeria on a date to be decided. Juliana Olayinka, reporting for Channels TV News in London.
Still on the international scene, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says he believes the Russian war in Ukraine will end on the negotiating table, as with most wars, and that the present focus is ensuring that Russia, being the aggressor in the war, does not win. He made the comment after a meeting by NATO foreign ministers in the Romanian capital, Bucharest, focused on ramping up aid for Ukraine, especially non-lethal aid. He blamed Russia for trying to weaponize winter, reaffirming NATO's pledge of more weapons to help Ukraine and to fix its energy infrastructure. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. People in China who attended weekend protests against COVID restrictions say they have been contacted by police as authorities begin clamping down. Several people in Beijing said police had called demanding information about their whereabouts. It is unclear how police might have discovered their identities. Planned protests in Beijing did not happen on Monday night after officers surrounded the assembly points. In Shanghai, large barriers were erected along the main protest route and police made several arrests. Over the weekend, thousands in China took to the streets demanding an end to COVID lockdowns, with some even making rare calls for President Xi Jinping to stand down.
Protests against the Chinese government are rare.
Britain's foreign minister said the Chinese government should take notice of protests against its strict zero-COVID policy and restrictions on freedoms.
It's clear that the Chinese people themselves are deeply unhappy with what is going on, about the restrictions imposed upon them by the Chinese government. These are the voices of Chinese people talking to their government, and I think it's right that the Chinese government listens to what those people are saying.
NATO's chief says Russia's Vladimir Putin is using winter as a weapon of war in Ukraine and that Moscow is increasing waves of brutality.
Welcome to all of you. Welcome to this meeting.
Speaking ahead of a meeting of NATO foreign ministers in Bucharest, Jens Stoltenberg said NATO allies were sending supplies and working to rebuild Ukraine's infrastructure. At the meeting, NATO foreign ministers focused on increasing military assistance for Ukraine, such as air defense systems and ammunition.
We have delivered generators, we have delivered spare parts, and allies are in different ways helping to rebuild the destroyed infrastructure.
Meanwhile, a delegation from Ukraine has attended a meeting of justice ministers from the G7 countries in Berlin to discuss improving cooperation on war crime probes. Ukraine is pushing for a special tribunal to prosecute Russian war crimes, with the EU signalling it was open to the idea. German Justice Minister Marco Buschmann said the aim was primarily about cooperation in securing evidence and avoiding duplication of work.
We, as Ukrainians, we understand that the crime of aggression as a primary war crime committed by Russian Federation should be punishable.
Hawaii's Mauna Loa, the world's largest active volcano, has begun erupting for the first time since 1984, ending its longest quiet period in recorded history. Hot lava spewed out of the volcano's summit at around 11:30 p.m. local time. The lava is currently contained within the summit and does not threaten Hawaiians living downslope. The service warned residents that volcanic gases and fine ash may drift their way. Mauna Loa is part of the chain of volcanoes that formed the islands of Hawaii. It last erupted in March and April of 1984. Tourists in Rome have been treated to a touch of British grandeur in an unlikely location as the Royal Navy Band played outside the Colosseum. The band, composed of 30 members in full ceremonial uniform, played improvised pieces from a rich musical repertoire, as well as, of course, the Italian and British national anthems. Organised by the British Embassy in Italy, they performed near the Arch of Constantine on Colosseum Square, a unique setting that provided the backdrop for songs by Army of the Nile, Invincible and Men of Music, in the presence of the British ambassador to Italy. And a bicycle pedalled by passers-by has been powering up a Christmas tree-shaped light installation in Budapest as the mayor there applies sustainable technology to celebrate the festive season. In order to save on surging energy costs, the tree only lights up fully while someone keeps pedalling really hard, which encourages families with their kids to stop by and give it a try. The bicycle also charges a battery that, along with solar panels, powers up the rest of the lights around the Budapest square. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Worth trying. It's now time for sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Sports News. 1966 World Cup winners England will face the Teranga Lions of Senegal in the last 16 of the FIFA World Cup after beating Wales 3-0 to qualify as winners of Group B. Well, Marcus Rashford's brace and another strike from Phil Foden gave the English a comfortable victory and ended Wales' first World Cup campaign since 1958 at the group stage. England won for just the second time in their last 9 games. But the USA beat Iran 1-0 to reach the last 16 of the World Cup thanks to a 38th-minute goal from a Chelsea player, Christian Pulisic. While the Americans will face Group A winners, the Netherlands, in the knockout phase. Kalidou Koulibaly has sent Senegal indeed into the World Cup knockouts for just the second time in their history with a dramatic 2-1 win over Ecuador this evening. Well, Senegal opened the scoring through Ismaila Sarr's penalty late in the first half, but despite managing to keep Ecuador captain Enner Valencia quiet throughout, Brighton's Moises Caicedo levelled in the 67th minute before Koulibaly sent his team through and Ecuador went home. Senegal reached the quarterfinals in 2002 in their previous visit of the knockout phase. Meanwhile, Senegalese fans outside the stadium celebrated their 2-1 victory over Ecuador, qualifying them for the round of 16. While the fans described the win as a victory for Africa. The results put the Lions of Teranga on 6 points in Group A, one behind group winners, the Netherlands. Meanwhile, Cody Gakpo netted his 3rd goal in 3 games as the Netherlands comfortably beat World Cup host Qatar 2-0 at the Al Bayt Stadium to secure top spot in Group A and advance to the knockout stage. The Dutch finished with 7 points from their 3 group games. The Qataris had been eliminated after their 3-1 loss to Senegal, and despite huge investment in state-of-the-art facilities to host the World Cup, they came up short again on the pitch. The Oranje will next take on whoever finishes second from Group B for a quarterfinal spot at the Khalifa International Stadium on Saturday. Australian coach Graham Arnold says his team's exploits at the Qatar World Cup can put football on the map at home and unite the nation. Australia are on the cusp of reaching the last 16 for only the 2nd time in their history, matching the achievement of a golden generation who made the same stage in 2006. Victory over Euro 2020 semi-finalist Denmark on Wednesday will guarantee a spot in the knockout rounds, while a draw could also be enough.
They're a strong team. They are ranked number 10 in the world for a reason. But again, I keep saying this, but the focus is solely on ourselves and making sure that the players recover well and they're in a good headspace and ready to go.
We all know the job at hand, and like I said, we've worked so hard to get to this position, and we've always believed that, you know, we can create something special. The Socceroos got out of the group in 06. I was a proud fan, and now, you know, we have the opportunity to be players and do that. So we're doing it for the country, for ourselves, for our friends, for our family, and, you know, that's motivation in itself.
And that's Sports News. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Back to you, Millicent.
Thank Thank you, Ayatunde. And the main news again. The Nigerian army today announced that its fight against insurgency has recorded some gains as over 800 Boko Haram suspects are awaiting transfer to Kainji, Niger State, to face prosecution. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari asked border control agencies of the Lake Chad Basin Commission to stop circulation of illegal weapons in the region. The president was speaking at the 16th Ordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government of the Lake Chad Basin Commission, which held in Abuja. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Melissa Mpumoka. Have a good night and stay safe.